Good morning. This morning I'm going to plant up my Three Sisters bed, and this will consist of sweet corn in the centre, two sections. I've got 29 sweet corn, so I'll have 15 in one section and 14 in the other. I will then plant 6 pumpkins, in fact squashes. 4 I've already got in modules and I'll put those on the outside, and I'll sow 2 more in the centre. I will then sow some runner beans to grow up the corn. So let's get started. Now I've planted my corn, as I said. I put in 2 blocks, one 3x5, giving me 15, and another one 3x5 minus 1, giving me 14. So that's my corn. Now the difference really in this method of growing is not going to work as it does in North America. If you imagine the plains in North America, the plenty of sun they get, their corn grows to sort of 8 to 12 foot high, and the beans will grow up the sides with no problems. Well, in England we'll be lucky to get this corn higher than about 5 foot. And normally runner beans normally grow between 6 and 8 foot tall. So what I'm going to do is very sparingly add a few beans, runner beans, around this crop. Otherwise all what will happen is that the foliage from the beans will shade the cobs and overcrowd the corn, and I don't think it's going to work. So for the principle of doing the Three Sisters, I'm only going to sow a few beans around the outside of the corn. But what I will be sowing are my 6 squash. I've got 4 sweet dumpling that I'm going to put in each corner of this bed, and which I've already got in plants, and I'm going to sow some butternut squash in these 2 sections here, 1 and 1 over there, 2. And that will come on slightly later. So that's what I'm going to do next. So the first thing I'll do is plant my 4 sweet dumpling squash. See you in a minute. Right, in the top of the ridge I've used my dibber to make the hole, and I'm just going to plant my plant into that hole. That's it. How I made these holes, the original mound I should say, is I dug at spade's depth, filled with compost, and then mounded up the earth around it, so there's a nice composted bed underneath where that plant is sitting. Also, when you water, the stems near the earth don't like getting too wet, otherwise they rot. So it's always best to water around the outside. I might put some bottles in the side to water directly down to the root, which I normally do with my courgettes. Anyway, I'll plant the rest now. Right, I've now planted my 4 sweet dumpling squash in each corner, and I had enough seed to sow sweet dumpling here and over there on those mounds, these 2 mounds. So that's part 2 done. So the corn's in and the squash is in, which will, the leaves from the squashes should act as a mulch to protect the corn roots. and keep them moist in the summer. So the third stage is to sow some beans. So I'm just going to sow a few around the outside. I'll be back in a minute. So I've got some Allotment beans and some pea beans. So sow about 4 Allotment beans this side and down that side. And on the opposite side I'm going to sow the pea beans, about 4 on each section. Let's see how that goes. Right, to finish off with my 3 sisters, just go over what I've done. First of all, I grew the corn in modules to give them a good start, and I've sown 2 blocks of sweet corn. I then made mounds of compost, which I've now planted my 4 squash in each corner, plus I've sown a couple of squash each side from seed. Now, because this is Britain or the UK and not the plains of America, our corn only grows to about 5 foot if I'm lucky, and obviously beans in this country anyway grow to about 8 foot. So what I don't want is my beans to grow really taller than my sweet corn and then smother them so the light can't get in to make or ripen the corns. So I've only sown 4 beans each side of each block of sweet corn. So I've got 4 beans there, 4 beans the other side, 4 beans this side, 4 beans the other side. I've added these pots with the bottoms cut out just to protect those squash from any wind until they're settled in, and I've just added a couple of nasturtium plants to help keep the pests away and also encourage bees for pollination. So that's my interpretation of the 3 sisters. Thanks for watching. Hope you found the video useful.